Surprise, we don't have a Zoom call tonight, but I have a special guest with me tonight. Kim is here, my wife, and I'm sure you've seen her probably on Facebook.
Oh my God, ad nauseam.
Much to her chagrin at times, posting pictures of her that she doesn't know about. So,
like the other one under the tree?
Oh yeah, the one
Jay,
I
you're
got.
dead.
I got in a lot of
Any
trouble.
one of you have rights.
Yeah.
That was just not good.
So this week, as you'll recall, the video on Monday was about fear and feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And so what I thought would be really perfect would be to have Kim come on and share her story and kind of how she got over her fear of where she was and kind of the fear of maybe, what it was like for her to have a husband that was over 400 pounds and a daughter that was close to 300 pounds. And, this whole family dynamic was really not on a good track. So I asked Kim, I said, would you come on tonight and share a little bit about your story? So people can kind of hear that and your perspective. And then, as you'll recall, on Wednesday, I shared with you from one of my favorite cookbooks, Rocco DiSpirito, Now Eat This, a great pasta recipe, the spaghetti carbonara.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, and Kim and I were like crazy pasta people, in the past. So I wanted Kim to share a little bit about that. And that kind of pasta a lot of times is what happens for people that she coaches to, because she does a lot of coaching over the weekend. So Kim's going to share her story, talk about fear a little bit, kind of talk about a little pasta thing, and maybe some of her tips and ideas for the weekend. So, Kim.
Well, this is such a surprise. I didn't expect it, and thank you very much for having me. So this is great. My story began pretty much when Jay and Jennifer went on to Biggest Loser. Most of you know this. Some of you don't. It was when they went away. I was one of the family members that was chosen to come out to the ranch as part of season 11 as one of the people in the family designated as you have to lose weight because you too are overweight. So I was flown out to the ranch and Dr. Hazanga on national television told me how to lose 90 pounds. And I thought, oh my God, 90 pounds. Okay, well, I knew I could lose 60. I kind of thought if I pushed it, I could lose 70. And if I was like really incredible, I could maybe do 80. So I went home knowing I had to lose 90 pounds. Didn't really faze me. I didn't really care because I really thought about it this way. They're gone. They're on the ranch to get healthy. And I'm here by myself. They left me. It was months until they came back. And I was really on my own to kind of discover myself. Granted, it was a luxury most people don't have, and I really was very, very happy and fortunate to be able to experience it. But what it did for me was it told me that I could address my health in a way that I finally could get out of my own way. And what I did was I decided to do it in a way that suited me. And the suiting me worked that I decided, well, I'm Italian. I know that my gene pool and my DNA stems back from Mediterranean. So what are the things that I really like to eat that are healthy? And I figured if I have to start a program, I'm not on a ranch, I'm not getting beaten down by coaches, and I can do it in my way, but I know that it might not happen in a short time period, but I was committed to a lifelong journey. And I was committed to, for the first time in my life, I'm going to be the person that the good old Lord, when he put me on earth, decided I was supposed to be, which basically means I'm 5'7.5", 3/4, and I'm going to be the right weight I have to be for that height. So what I did was, I got all the crap out of the closets and I got all the processed foods out, and I, like any of the rice-a-roni or Velveeta or, mac and cheese, any of that kind of stuff that was like prepared and ready to eat, I decided, all right, I will just go back to my roots. And I was working with a great trainer, our trainer, Joyce Van Setters. She was great, and she said to me, put together a list of the things that you like. So I started thinking of all the healthy kinds of foods that I liked, and this is where my fear disappeared. Mm-hmm. Because I no longer felt as though, oh my God, I've got to do this with stuff I don't like. I thought, screw it. I like a lot of good food. I love basil with tomatoes and olive oil. Well, if you drink olive oil, it's not healthy for you, but if you have a little bit and it's really good and it tastes good, you can get away with a little bit of it because it tastes really good and you only need a little bit. So tomatoes, basil, olive oil, Mozzarella cheese, I don't have to have the mozzarella cheese, but like pesto is good, not as maybe as much cheese. I could do nuts instead of walnuts, or pinoli nuts, I can do like maybe almonds. So it gives you the texture. So what I started doing was I started thinking for myself, for my diet, what were the kinds of things that I love to eat. Now, when you talk about, I'm Italian, okay, pasta, all right? And we're looking at a lasagna noodle pasta that's whole wheat?
Yeah, whole wheat.
Whole grain. So what's really great was I started saying to myself, okay, I love pasta because I'm Italian, and I grew up, my sister, she'll never see this, don't tell her I told you, she eats a pound of pasta when she eats pasta. So I never would eat a pound, but I could eat a half a pound. And so now I eat like a cup of pasta. And I'm good with it because I don't just have it like by itself. I'll have it with a piece of fish, I'll have it with chicken. The point is, I'm having things that I like in ways that are healthy for me. And I get the hit that everybody wants to get, that they're afraid they're going to lose when they feel like they have to go on a program and eliminate stuff out of their diet that isn't really good for them. Part of my story, just to finish it, is that Jay and Jennifer went on the show. I lost 50 pounds by the time their finale came, just by getting processed foods out of my life and my cabinets and starting to do moderate exercises, walking the dog and going to the gym a little bit, doing a little bit of yoga and stretching and stuff, and just like really walking the dog a lot. And my story was that when they got back after finale, over the next 12 months, I decided I was going to continue on this program for myself to eat healthy and to eat the kinds of things that were good for my body, and to do moderate exercise. And truth be told, I lost 105 pounds on my own. And I have to tell you that 105 pounds came off, and I've never ever to date felt as though I had to work for that loss.
Kim, what's the so we know your story.
Mm-hmm.
You started talking about the whole pasta thing, which is good because you still will eat it now, but you don't eat it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't eat as much, but you really make sure that the flavor is really, strong and intense.
Paramount.
Really, really important. You coach a lot of people, and I've done the same thing. It seems like everybody runs into the weekend. It's like they can do good all week long, and then the weekend comes along, and there's a freedom issue, and there's a I deserve it issue, or whatever. What's a big takeaway for everybody tonight that might help them as they go through this weekend? What do you think? What might help that?
Well, I think what might help you on a weekend is to know that you don't have to be 100% on your game every single day of the week. And if you stay, I kind of adopted like an 80-20 rule for myself, that if I was able to stay on the straight and narrow in the times and on the days that I didn't have a lot of either challenges or pressing social commitments, or just like events that I had to go to that would kind of like put food in the way that I didn't really want to have. Whenever I knew I could be on that kind of straight and narrow, I stayed there. Because I figured, okay, today's a day, I'm going to work. I really am not going to have many challenges at work. I know what I can do, I stay there. But I know that if a weekend comes, and if I'm going to be socializing, and we're going to be going out and having dinner with people, there are going to be certain things I'm going to maybe want to do because I want to be able to live and I want to be able to enjoy my life, but I also want to be healthy. So what I'll do is I'll make decisions within what the choices are presented to me in ways that I choose. So it's called consciousness, choice, and conditioning. It's like Jay goes back to his old My Pet Fat days. He really stresses the fact that you can, and I coach on this. I coach a lot of people on a weekly basis to say, you can make certain choices in your life, some of which are good for you, some of which are not. So if I can have a decision to have maybe a cocktail with somebody, I'm not going to have a cocktail with heavy cream and vodka and maybe a liqueur. I could say maybe a good thing for me to have is like maybe I can have a glass of wine, because wine has antioxidants in it. The tannins are good for me. It's a healthy thing for my body. Or maybe a little bit of vodka and a splash of like a diet soda, and it's low in carbohydrate. It depends on where I am and what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's really easy for me to be able to make a decision. If I'm going to have a glass of wine with dinner because I want to have a cocktail, or because I've like had a really stressed out day and I just feel like I need something, well then maybe instead of having pasta, let's say we go to an Italian restaurant, instead of having pasta, I might have like a chicken with capers and artichoke hearts, or a fish that's a little bit lighter, and like a light salad. So I'm getting my vegetables, I'm getting a protein, but I can still have the cocktail. So I kind of like weigh and measure it where it goes.
You're thinking about it a lot. The other thing that
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, there's a lot more of awareness. And remember when I talked about on Monday and also on Wednesday, Kim and I have a conversation. We will sometimes, before we go out, go there, important. We'll talk about it. We'll say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Yeah, how are we going to approach, how are we going to go into this? What are your goals for this dinner?
And so a lot of times it's much more of a conversation. And the other thing that we found that's been great is, and it's kind of a separate book we're going to do down the road called Half is More, which is basically, we a lot of times, tremendous amount of times, because we can't eat as much as we used to, we will order an entree that we both love, we'll split it. Sometimes we don't order an appetizer. If we do, we'll order an appetizer and split it. So we split a lot of meals, one, because it saves a lot of money, which funds my Starbucks habit. It saves a lot of money, but really what happens is it's half the calories and we're more than satisfied. And there have been times we've gone out and split a meal and we get done and we're still waiting around. It's like, let's order something else. It can happen, but for the most part, I'd say almost like 95% of the time, we'll order one entree and we'll split it, and maybe Kim will have wine, maybe I'll have a beer sometimes.
Or maybe in addition to the meal that we split, we might have a big salad, or we might have an extra side of like a vegetable or something. Yeah. We did this when we went to Italy. We would have meals that we would have, but we would also have a lot of vegetables. I took away from his experience on Biggest Loser the fact that vegetables don't have tons of calories, but they have so many nutrients that they really satisfy your body in terms of fiber and just like giving you extra food to eat. It fills you up. And really what happens when we eat, which we really don't think about, we look for the opportunity to become full, but we also want taste. So I can tell you what, I coach people that thought eating a salad was iceberg lettuce and like oil and vinegar and maybe a cucumber and a carrot. And I said, God help me, don't eat that kind of salad. You're never going to be satisfied because there's no flavor in it.
Nope.
Eat deep green leafy vegetables. They're satiating, satisfying. They satiate your need and your craving for fiber, for density, for nutrients, for fiber. And it fills you and you feel satisfied. It also quenches your thirst for what you think you need, bread. Well, actually, a leafy green vegetable is considered a carbohydrate, but it's a low glycemic carbohydrate.
Right.
It's really good for you, and it fills you up. We eat lots of vegetables,
but
they have to taste good.
You know what that reminds me? Next Wednesday, I'm going to give you guys an amazing kale salad recipe that we have. That it's like I'm addicted to kale. It's so really good. So good. Yeah. And maybe I'll even do two, because there's a cold salad for people in kind of warmer climates, and then there is that amazing salad that we had, which was the Brussels sprouts and the wilted. Really good. I can't even think now. The wilted Brussels sprouts, wilted kale. Okay, wilted kale. Anyway.
Take it from a man who, before he lost weight, hated vegetables.
Crave them now. Absolutely crave them. All the time. So, it's a long video, but the point is, as I told you, we're committed to really making sure that you go into the weekend with some strong ideas. So maybe you'll watch this video tonight. The idea is, if you maybe watch it on Friday, watch it over the weekend. The idea of the videos are they're there as an archive to remind you later on. So what did we learn tonight? We talked about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and really especially getting into a conversation. You got to get out of what's in your head and start to share it with somebody that you care about, so that you get in a conversation and you have choices. And I can tell you what.
If you don't have anybody to share it with, his number's in the email.
Yes.
Call him. It's okay.
Yes.
It works. That's why he does this.
So anyway, we're at 14 minutes into this. Thank you if you stayed this long. Have an absolutely incredible weekend, and I will see you on Monday.